All right. Hey, YouTube. Thanks so much for coming back and checking us out. Welcome back to the channel, Women's Bodybuilding for Real. I'm your host, Sheena Oleg, IFBB, Women's Bodybuilding Professional. And I'm so excited to have with us today two of my girls, two of my divas, my Iron Sisters, Christina Bryant and Mayla Ash, Queen Diva Mayla Ash. And I can't wait to get into it. I am so excited to have these girls on. These ladies are beautiful, inside and out, gorgeous spirits, and phenomenal bodybuilders. So we're gonna do just a quick check-in. Why don't you tell me what's been going on, and what you're up to, and just like anything new, fun, and exciting. Christina, we'll start with you.
I've told a couple of people, told socials, but I am
I
retired
heard
from
the
the
news.
stage. After 7 years, I decided to step away and pursue other opportunities within my professional career. It definitely wasn't an easy decision, but it was one that was necessary, especially for growth as a human. I'll forever miss the stage, but the qualities and things that I gained while competing, they definitely helped me to transition into what we call quote
Sure.
unquote a normal life. Um, so I always carry those, the opportunities that were given. I could never ever get that anywhere else. So that's life for me. I have a nonprofit that's about to get ready to kick off for the young girls that I speak with and host in my hometown. It's kind of to help them build confidence and to walk into a room with their superpower and not second guess themselves and believe in themselves a lot
So what's
more.
the
That's what
name
we
of
like to
the
hear.
nonprofit?
Empower her. So instead of it being just empower, it's gonna be her in
Yes.
Oh, that's
parentheses. So I got a team of people I actually teamed up with to help me get everything started. So I want it to be a really big deal. So that takes time
yes.
and good logistics. So I'm just taking it day by day
Good for
with it.
you. That's so good to hear. We'll get a little bit deeper into that whole decision to step away from the stage and what that really means for you, how you came about, how you came to that decision, and how you're settling into that, former competitor sort of title. So I'm sure there are so many more great things ahead of you than are behind you. So we're excited for you. We're happy for you. And as long as it's making you happy and it feels right in your spirit, that's what matters. All right, Miss Mayla,
Thank you.
Sister Diva.
Hello, everyone. As my sister in Seal has said, I'm Mayla Ash, IFBB Women's Bodybuilding Pro, six-time Olympian. Whoop, whoop.
That's right. Give it up 6 times to the Olympia girl.
All due respect. All due respect.
um, and a lover of all things that are female bodybuilding. I love my sisters. I definitely love Christina, and I completely understand the path that you're taking. I do hope that even though um, I don't like to say that people have retired, I like to say that people are taking a break. So I do hope that while you're taking this break, because you are a force of nature on the stage and off the stage, but I feel that you are empowering her who is looking at into fitness and trying to see that there's more than one specific stereotype of female bodybuilder. You empower that. The sunshine that you bring on stage, that I know that you will have off stage. But on that side note, because I am having my squirrel moment that I'm notorious for having, I do hope that you remember your sisters and allow us to empower people in your nonprofit and allow us to empower you to keep that rising. Now, when it's coming to me, everyone,
Thank you.
I'm on the fence about whether or not I'm going to continue my path. So it's going to be one of those.
We're going to have a
You heard it here
time
first.
today.
Yeah, you heard it here first about the with female bodybuilding and everything. Um, Last year was a hard year for me with all the loss and all the struggles I went through. Even though I do love the sport, like I said, last year was a hard year. And so I'm at a place where it came to my realization that I was so focused on pushing forward. I was so focused on motivating and encouraging others that I drained my own vessel. I drained my own spirit. I didn't take the time to mourn about the loss that I had. Um, and I didn't take the time to truly emotionally and spiritually recover. So right now, I'm at a place where this is the first year since I've started competing that, and if anybody knows me, they know at the end of every season, I always take stock to decide, am I going to continue? Is the fire still there? The fire is still in me. It's not burning as bright. So, and like I said, I feel that a lot of that has to do with the fact that last year pretty much depleted me on a level that um, was kind of disheartening. So I'm at a place where I'm trying to decide if continuing forward with competing is what I need to do. But
Mhm.
that doesn't mean I'm not going to compete, but this is the first season that I have contemplated not getting back on stage. So right now, I am, like I said, I am caring for me,
Mhm.
my emotional well being, um, to get back to a place where I am Mayla. So, the
It's
person
okay.
that everybody's so accustomed to seeing, the person that everybody's so accustomed to
Ooh,
hearing
girl,
on pot on social media and everything. That person, if anybody knows me, they know that I like to be authentic. And so, and I'm not one of those people who wants to get on social media to get attention. I'm not there to put my drama out there so everybody's, oh, well, I'm here to take care of myself so that I continue being the person that I know that I was meant to be, that God destined me to be, which is to continue to empower, to continue to motivate, and those things. So once I take care of myself, then I'll understand what path I want to take. But that's where I'm at right now.
Now, y'all can't just come on here right off the bat dropping bombs like that. Y'all gotta.
Well, I'm so sorry. You didn't allow anybody
well,
to
I'm
ease in. You
You
told
know
me,
what?
tell me
Listen,
what you're doing right now.
I'm ready to
I
jump
was
into
like,
it.
oh,
I'm ready to jump into it. And I'm glad, I'm grateful that, you guys are being vulnerable and that you're allowing people to hear your voice and see where you're coming from, hear where you're coming from, here on this platform, here on this show. This is Women's Bodybuilding for Real. And that was my vision in creating this experience for us as bodybuilders. I wanted a platform that was for women's bodybuilders, created by women's bodybuilders, hosted by women's bodybuilders, bringing you women's bodybuilders, like our voice, because there are
mhm,
plenty of shows out there that report on women's bodybuilding or report on the sport in general. And they've never lived, a day in our shoes. They don't know what it's like being a woman, training, competing under, the thumb of social media, under all of the stress and the strain of what it means to take away from your family life, as a female, as a woman. You know what I
right.
mean? So it's a total,
Underneath the stereotypes, I'm like, all of
so.
us can attest to that. We've spent so much time fighting
Hmm.
these stereotypes. This division have since it's come back to the Olympia, I should say, because it's technically never left. But as it started to be reborn, um, all of us who have been championing that cause, we've been spending so much time fighting all these stereotypes,
Hmm.
fighting, like you said, all these people who are reporting um, on the sport and on the division, but reporting on it with misconceptions,
Hmm.
reporting on it based on their personal preferences or their personal likes,
That's right.
reporting on it with misinformation.
That's right.
Fighting misinformation because people are not taking the time to actually listen,
Hmm.
hear, and see us,
That's right.
truly us. Time for it to be born. And so it is wonderful to take that time to come on here. And that is one of the reasons that I feel that I could be raw and honest on this because, like you said, this is being supported, this is being created, this is being championed by people who walk the walk.
Hmm.
I'm like, so I'm happy that you taking this mantle up to help continue pushing this forward. And I know this is going to make a huge difference
I
for the
really hope
sport and
so.
for this division.
I really hope so. And I think that, going back to Chrissy, with your decision to, sort of hang up your posing suit for the time being, for the foreseeable future. There's a lot to be said about perhaps what you could have gained previously, in your time before actually competing for, the few years that you competed. If you would have had, or if we all would have had the voice, of a channel like this, or, of a podcast like this, of somebody and people who have been there and done that and could have given you maybe, some greater insight, even some things to consider, some, forewarnings, things like that. And hopefully that's what the
Yes.
people and the women, the girls coming up now can take from this. They can hear our voices, they can see our faces, they can get an understanding of who we truly are as people, all of our different personalities, because they're such great, textured personalities between all of
Yes.
the girls that compete. I can go to one show and, have a Mayla, have a Natalia, have a Christina, have an Asha, and we're all backstage and we come together and we're like sisters, we're competing, but there's a camaraderie there. And then we go to a whole nother show and it's a whole different slew of people, but that relationship still sort of, merges and we still sort of come together.
Hmm.
But you get to know people differently, on different levels, and in a way that says, what, we're more than just, gym rats, we're more than just, jocks, or more than just meatheads. Like, we have families, we have raw, real world experiences, we have hearts that want to give back, we have competitive spirits. So that's why I'm so excited to have you guys on here. And I would love for us each to get into what brought us to bodybuilding. I know, Christina, you have a completely different story than Mayla. Mayla has a completely different story than I do. And I think what's so beautiful about your story is you bring such unique experience to how you came
Yeah.
to bodybuilding that not a lot of bodybuilders have, not a lot of regular general population people have, and I think that could be really helpful. And I would love for you to share that.
So when I got into bodybuilding, it literally was after a bad divorce. My health was kind of out of control. I was severely just overweight. I was morbidly obese. Um, and I found my way to bodybuilding. Fast forward, after 3 years of competing, I went pro. Um, I never envisioned that I would be a bodybuilder. I was just getting in shape. It just so happened I did a bodybuilding show and I was really good at it. So I decided to keep going to see what the next steps were going to be. And here I am, 7 years later. I may not have made it to the Olympia stage, but I can honestly say, when
Yes.
looking back, I've made a hell of an impact and I have a voice that matters in the industry. And to trickle off of what you said, out of my entire time of competing, this was the first year that when I came backstage, I felt at home. I felt welcomed. Everybody had a smile on their face. There was no cattiness. We all were cutting up backstage.
Sure was.
Even at the pose down during the show, we were all cutting up on stage. Like, we really just were enjoying ourselves and embracing each other and having fun. And I said that when I got backstage. I said, um, why everybody look like they're holding in a fart? Nobody want to smile. Nobody want to cut up a kiki. Any of the other divisions, they didn't. They were just sitting backstage looking mad. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, like, this ain't it. Like, women's bodybuilding is cool.
Mhm.
All the ladies, everyone that I have met has been welcoming. But I was never an athlete growing up. I was always a fat kid. I had to learn everything myself. A lot of things were self-taught until I did reach the hands of a good coach.
Okay.
And then as you progress in this sport from amateur to pro, it's a different animal.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And with that animal, you have to know all its behaviors, the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to look at yourself in the mirror and be able to say, okay, these are the bad behaviors. These are the things that I'm about to dip into. Can I still look at myself in the mirror when I do
Hmm.
this? And I'm keeping it so real because there aren't a lot of Black women who share their experience when it comes to PEDs, when it comes to the diet, when it comes to manipulation from coaches, when it comes through all different experiences that we have as a professional athlete and as a woman in this industry. Um, all they see is the glitz and the glamour for those times that we're standing on stage posing and standing next to each other doing quarter turns, but they don't know what we go through 2 weeks out from a show or 12 weeks out from a show.
Mhm.
You know, there's a switch in all three of us that cuts on when it's time to get ready to step on
When
stage.
it's go time. That's
And
true.
once that switch is turned, everybody around us is like a racehorse with blinders on,
Like the
and you
words
just
right out
going
of
and
my
going and
mouth.
going.
Mhm.
Legit.
Year after year after year. Yes, year after year after year. But you're so focused on the physical, and I've learned with more as I dig into self awareness that a lot of times the physical operates through ego. It doesn't operate through self awareness, and I no longer wanted to operate from a space of ego.
Okay.
That's why I felt like I was operating from in these past couple of years. Even with the loss of my dad this year, I did more like I was supposed to because I was 12 weeks out from a show. My dad was my biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
So when he wasn't there, I felt like I was going to let him down. In all honesty, I wasn't doing myself no good because I didn't grieve. So after I stepped off stage in Savannah, the next morning after the show, it was like the wind had got knocked out of me, just completely knocked out of me because I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a show to be prepping for. And all the feelings of I want my dad came running in.
Yeah.
So I really had to kind of look at myself and say, yo, like, is this really what you want? Is your why have an answer to it? And that's when I started feeling the no answer to my why. Fast forward to the Olympia, and I know you hadn't asked this question, but it's just in me to say
Go
it.
for it.
When I got off the plane, got to the hotel, get ready to go see all the athletes at the athlete meet and greet. It was just an energy and a spirit that came over me when I walked into that room with all those athletes in one room. I felt like I didn't belong. I felt like it was not operating from a good space in the industry. Not the people, but the industry
Mhm.
itself. From the deaths to the treatment of the athletes. Um, I didn't felt like we really mattered. It was a show or a production that needed to be put on. It had nothing to do with health. It had nothing to do with wellness. It had nothing to do with trying to encourage people and enlighten people. It was just a show. I left out of that room, went back to my room. My flight was supposed to leave at 12 o'clock that Sunday afternoon. I changed it to 12 o'clock that Sunday morning. I got the hell out of there.
Mhm.
And I did a lot of self reflection, and I'm talking about a lot. And I just said, my why ain't big enough for me no more.
Okay.
So that's when I said it's okay to move forward, use the same processes and procedures that I did in my life, just shift them into different avenues. I'm gonna be successful at whatever I do. That's just the dog in me. But learning how to control my emotion in those spaces was definitely necessary. I got therapists and all, because y'all know show prep blues kick in. They
Yeah.
kick in. And if you don't know how to control your emotions in those spaces, you will do a lot of damage to friends and family. They will never understand when you're coming off of PEDs, your hormones are different. And they got to ease back in. You can't just go full force with nothing. So learning how to balance that too um, was necessary. I just no longer wanted to feel that feeling. I wanted to feel like normal Christina that gets up 9 to 5, go on vacation when I want to, be the flyest auntie I know I can be.
Fly auntie. That's what we love to hear. I know that's right. But you know what? So many things, so many points of what you said ring true for so many of us, I think, in the division and women's bodybuilding period, regardless of the division. I know that it takes it's a different mindset, and it's a different monster to be women's bodybuilding than it is to be women's physique. It's a different monster, it's a different mindset to be women's physique than it is to be figure. So I think that there are a lot of things that ring true for all of us, but then there are very many things that are different and that are required to be different as you compete and become successful in the divisions, and grow into the divisions and sort of really see where you fit. And I think that more important than anything, you mentioned, like your therapist. We all know that, as athletes, as competitors, as bodybuilders, whatever we do well in our lives, there's a mental and a spiritual aspect to it. And I think, unfortunately, and especially as young Black women, we don't have that experience managing our emotions from a very young age. We're made to just, tough it out, suck it up, get over it, figure it out. Don't let it break you. We're made to be tough. We're built and we're raised to be tough. We're raised to be resilient. And I think that helps us in a lot of ways. But then also, I think it can stunt that emotional growth and that emotional ability to really manage your feelings and your thoughts and your when things come over you, and sort of like operating from a place, like you said, of ego versus spirit. And so, like, trying to compartmentalize all those things and let them fit together and work well, for you, work together well, right? And so when you reach that maturity where you say, you know what, maybe this isn't for me, but I don't want to just make the rash decision to just cut this off, but I want to do it in the right way. I need to talk to somebody, talking to a therapist, really talking out that spiritual part, really doing that intrinsic work. I mentioned in a previous episode, I used to be a yoga instructor. And I think those are some of the most amazing years of my life, because I learned so many things for myself, how to go in words for myself, and then how to help other people do that as well. And those skills can work well for you as an athlete, but if you don't have them, no matter what you're good at, whether you're just a workaholic, whether you are a workoutaholic, whether you are, a professional athlete or not, when you can't do that intrinsic work and you start operating from ego, you start operating up and down on this emotional roller coaster, things can go real bad real fast. So I'm thankful that you decided to do it in a
Okay.
way that, you didn't just let your emotions sort of carry you, but you said, there's some other stuff that's going on here, and you acknowledge that. And I think that a lot of us can learn from that. So I think that rings true, and I think that that can be applied to all of us, and I think that could be really helpful for a lot of people, perhaps even watching.
That is true.
You
And
know.
you know what? To piggyback on that, I think one of the things that is that is key is that you indicated that you weren't an athlete before you got into this, which I'm assuming means that you didn't participate in sports and things growing up and all that stuff. And I've seen, and for me, that's part of my journey, is that I came into this sport, I feel differently than a lot of people because I came in as a previous athlete from other sports.
Mhm.
And I think that when you have that foundation, it does give you much more of a foundation to endure. I played volleyball, I did track and field, I was in gymnastics, you know, all that kind of stuff helps you. It helps you get a better understanding of the heartbreak, the judgment, the unkindness that people tend to display or project because of competitive nature. Some people don't have that mindset of understanding that, yes, this is a sport and these are components in the sport. But as an individual, even at the end of the day, those components of the sport are people. We
We
break.
human. We're
Yes,
not
we're
machines.
people. We're human. We break. We have bad days. We have bad moments. Life gets, for lack of a term, life gets in the way of the sport. My heart breaks when I hear your story, because the reality is that there's been so many times that I've had people, what we always want to say, slide into my DM after I've made a post or something, you know, showing symptoms of what you're talking about. But what's unfortunate is that they don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear the truth that, maybe they're going down a path that they're not ready for yet. And that's not to say that you weren't ready, because like you said, you've been in this sport for a while and you had to learn a lot of stuff on your own. It's getting better now because we have these platforms that are out here now helping. We do have some people in the industry trying to educate, trying to put it out there. There's too many of us who know about bad trainers, bad coaches, who also perpetuate this toxic behavior. But we don't speak out about it because being a good person, you don't want to hurt other people, even if they've hurt you. It's the nature, especially for women of color. it hasn't been, when I look back through the course of the bodybuilding in general, when it comes to the women, women of color, um, Black, Asian, Hispanic, women of color in general, really didn't start prospering in this sport till recently. And not recently as in 1 or 2 years ago, but as long as women have been in this sport, as long as this sport has been around, it's only been recently that when we wash off the tan,
Mhm.
that we discover, oh, there's more people who have their own personal tan going on.
Yeah.
But the thing
Well, I
is
think it
that
has a lot to do with, like, obviously, society in general, with more of the focus on Eurocentric beauty standards and such. So you have women of color who have dominated in this sport. You look back at Linda Murray, Carl. I mean,
hmm
the early stages: Carla Dunlap, Linda Murray, Iris Kyle. In women's bodybuilding, Andrea Shaw. So we're dominating, and even in the women's physique divisions, the figure divisions, but the girls that are being marketed are the ones that don't necessarily have our features, that don't necessarily look like us.
the reality is social media gives a misrepresentation of how many women of color is in the sport
Sure,
as a whole. And
sure,
that's what I'm talking about.
sure.
And
Well,
because of that,
anyway, if you go to the Explore page, go to the Explore page on Instagram, click it. You're going to see one, maybe two, three black women. The rest are women that are from other countries. They don't look like us. And I'm just keeping it real as white women. That's it. That's the algorithm of social media. We don't fit the European beauty standard that they push. So of course we aren't gonna get the shine that we supposed to. But I also don't think that we need to up the ante on what we do to get the shine. And that's the problem. A lot of people don't know when to stop. They don't know when to say, all right, I ain't finna keep going and knocking on doors that they really ain't trying to open. Let me just open my own door. Let me
Yeah.
create my own lane. You know? And I do think that a lot of times we second guess ourselves because of what they are encouraging and pushing out there. Well, I don't look like that, or they giving more praise to this division. Excuse my French, fuck them folks. Is how I feel about it. I
Well,
really
listen, we
do.
have to keep it real like that,
I
though.
think
We
that
have to keep it real like that so people hear
keeping it real with you, like I met you in 2018, Mayla, at the Olympia. I will never forget it. I'm walking, flying by. I was getting ready for the Lee Haney, and you saw me and said, it literally stopped everything you were doing and said, "Whose show you doing?" It's like to be acknowledged by you for that. It
oh,
meant the world to me. So I just looked up to you. Andrea, the same thing with this year, her encouraging me and Sheena encouraging me. You three women mean a lot to me because of the way you treated me in this industry. I can't say that about everybody in this sport. I would get comments when I got off stage in women's physique like, you could have did this, or you posed too hard, or you this. Well, where the hell were you when I was looking for someone to reach out to and lean on? And who are you to
it.
give a critique that I didn't ask for? Who are you? Are you here to help me? Or are you here to manipulate and control me? That's what I need to know. So women like you matter in this sport,
thank you.
Mayla. And we need you in
But
this
see, but
sport. You're
that's
appreciated.
what I'm talking about. I don't care about the fact that current standards of beauty might not embrace us right now, because the reality is that that's the evolution of time and we can't do anything about that. But in this moment of time, what I'm talking about are people like us.
Mhm.
You know, most of us don't want to speak truth out into the sport because we want to toe the line. And there's no reason that you can't be have sportsmanship. There's no reason that we can't congratulate or praise those who are rising up, just like I did with you. Pause and say, whose show you doing?
Mhm.
Where are you trying to go? This is what the path you need to take. You might not want to listen to that type of advice that you might be getting. You might need to listen to yourself. And then once we've done all we can do, we have to step back, because the reality is that in this day and age, it's just like you said, some people are willing to do whatever it takes to get to the level that we have achieved. And there's too many times I tell people, my journey is not your journey. And even though it might inspire you, don't try to mimic it. You need to take your own path. Even though this is women's bodybuilding, but there are some men who do champion it. True. Bob Chigarillo, he said it. Not everybody is made for this sport,
Mhm.
but there's too many people in this sport who don't want to tell others who are killing themselves, baby, this isn't your journey.
Mhm.
I know that you like what you see on social media. Yes, we look all glitz and glam because you focus on us on stage and everything, but you sweeping past the pictures of us struggling in the gym. You sweeping past the stuff where we looking crazy and everything. You only focusing on the end. Well, let's
Hello.
be honest. Let's be honest. We post stuff that is not on stage. We
Mhm.
post stuff if it's not showing behind, if it's not sexy, if it's not tantalizing, if it's not showing the glitz and glamour. Most of the time they're just sweeping past that. Oh, I don't want to, oh, let me look at that. Oh, she looks so pretty on stage. Oh my God, look at Christina and everything. You're not paying attention to the fact that she posted that she was overweight and she made this journey. That's not important to you. But the reality is that there's too many people, they have this microwave sense of doing this sport. This is not a sprint. There's too many people who get into the gym. There's too many of us who get into the gym. Somebody sees the eye on it and says, oh, you can compete. And then all of a sudden it's this whole thing. They've been in the gym all of 6 months. So when I turn pro at the end of the year, I'm gonna go ahead and next year go ahead and get my
Okay.
qualification for the Olympia. But it's that whole thing is that nobody's telling these people, you know, and the people that are being told, there's a lot of them, they don't want to hear it. And that's what the problem is in this sport. We need to stop the participation performance. That's what the
They
problem is.
just finna say that.
This is
See,
the sport.
competitive side of it is gone. The competitive side of like, all right, I'm gonna get on stage and I'm about to see if I can match up. A lot of people are doing mediocre shows. I hate to say it that way, but what I mean it is you got three people in your category who
Hello.
don't really look like nothing. So when you get to nationals, everybody on that stage don't want to show. What separates them is their conditioning and their presentation when you get to nationals. You need to come like you looking like a pro at nationals. So a lot of this getting on stage just to compete to say I'm competing, but
Right.
there's no competitive nature behind you. A lot of people make it to the pros or they make it to the O and they can't even stand up in the top
They can't
five.
even stand up in the top 12. Forget about the
It's
top
not
five.
Top 12.
participation.
That's right.
True. About the it's not about the participation. Any show that I've had, any coach that I have, I can put this out there. We ain't showing up to compete. We showing up to win. The cards gonna fall where they fall, but we showing up to win. And that's the mindset that I had going through my training and prepping for a show.
But
I
see,
ain't going to just show up.
that
I'm
is
going to
what the
make
problem is. What you just said. That was the mindset in your training. There's too many coaches, there's too many athletes that they're like, I want to show up and win. And their mindset is, what do I need to take to do it?
That's right.
No, baby, you need to bust your behind. Oh, what you on? What I'm on is pain, okay? Because even though I'm tired, there's been, and
Uh-huh.
all of us that's on this podcast right now, and all of us who have been at that level, we all know there have been workouts that you have sat in your car for 5 or 10 minutes because you know it's about to bring the pain, and you ask yourself, what kind of insanity am I going through right now that I'm about to go intentionally go,
Willingly,
not right,
intentionally, of my
willingly
own
go.
cognizance, I'm about to go in
And the,
here and literally kill myself.
And the thing is that what makes it even worse
exactly.
is that there's a lot of us that we do it to ourselves. We don't have a trainer. We don't have a coach sitting there pushing us. We are going in there saying, okay, I almost died on that third set, but I got one more set
Hmm.
and I need to increase the weight and finish the set.
Hmm.
And even though your body's like, you know what? I'm about to go. You keep your little crazy behind here and try to drop 6 more reps on there. The amount of pain, the crying, the endure laid out in the locker room.
Talk about out of body experience, right?
Right. And that's what I tell people. I'm quick to
Yes.
tell people that I think I died twice at that leg day. You
Hmm.
know what I'm just like, well, why did I see you later? I didn't see me later. I don't remember how I got home. I don't know how I got home. I
Right.
don't know how I
remember
got
changing
home.
clothes. I don't remember getting in my car. I don't remember drinking no protein shake. I don't remember saying bye to
Talk.
nobody.
Real talk. That whole thing about, oh, get home and take a shower. Baby, I've crawled home from some workouts and laid on that sofa in that funk and was thankful that I made it to the sofa and told myself, you know what? This cold chicken that I drug out this bag, I'm too tired to heat that up. I'm about to eat as much as I can and doze off. I take a shower when I wake up.
You
If
ain't
I can
telling
get in
nothing
the
but the
shower.
truth. You ain't telling nothing but the
And
truth.
see that's
But
the
that's
truth
not the
that so many
glamorous
people don't
side
want to
that
hear.
people think about, right? That's not the glamorous side. That's not the side that shows, how strong you are and how hardcore you are. That's the side that they don't really embrace until it's time to really see, it's really time to check yourself and
They
they
don't
wind up
embrace
wrecking
it.
themselves, right?
Real talk. All of us know that we've had to use enhancements, but that's one of the things that I'm quick to tell people. People have always got on me, oh, you've been through some coaches and everything. I'm not going to deal with anybody who's not on the same level that I'm in. I've had a lot of great coaches, but as I have grown and evolved, I'm quick to tell people I'm not some new competitor. I know my body.
Mhm.
So if a true coach is going to take the insight of somebody who is a veteran. And when I say a veteran, not somebody who's just been bouncing around this sport, an athlete who has taken the time to learn their own body.
That's right. I think that it requires a coach that also cultivates that relationship of communication, asking you, how your body
Yes.
is feeling. When was your last cycle? How are you? How's your appetite? How's your sleep? Really getting into those nooks and crannies and checking in when, you started a protocol and not starting you off at this, 10-year veteran type protocol, but, easing you in or seeing how your body responds to certain things. Because I can tell you, I'm sure, a lot of us know people that or coaches that we can see a protocol that they've assigned or we've seen a protocol that somebody has started or has been assigned and we're like, where is this coming in? Like, why are you doing this like so fast, so quick, so high, so intense? Like,
So let me say
it's
this
big it's
before.
like cookie cutter stuff.
So what I found is with that, a lot of times, keeping this real, they're the supplier of the product. And if you're a supplier of a product, you want your
Give them
money.
everything.
So what you gonna do? You're gonna make sure that a person is on a particular protocol that matches what you got in your cabinet that you're trying to get off of.
Okay, let's
Let's
keep
keep
it
it
real
honest
honest.
with you.
We're all
That's
adults. When did we get to a point that if somebody tells you to do something that you don't say no, you don't say why? Let's be honest. We're going to be real. Let's be real. How many of you guys have seen somebody, have seen other athletes, have spoken to other athletes? Let me correct myself. Competitors
Hmm.
who they jump into the sport, they get on social media. And because they've seen a coach take a picture with somebody,
Hmm.
all of a sudden, oh, that's the coach that I want to go to.
Absolutely.
And so instead of finding the coach that's right for them, they say, well, she's
What's
winning.
the hot stuff,
I
right?
want to
top.
win, so I'm going to
Yeah.
go with that coach.
Yeah.
But that's the missing component. People don't seek the knowledge to learn. Okay, what I did was when I got with any coach, when they send out my diet, when they send out my protocol, I'm finna go look at what they done put off in my protocol. I'm finna research what this will do to the body. And then I got to think about for myself, okay, well, my body operates like this. If I do this, I'm finna be walking around here looking like for real
But that's
crazy.
what it is.
But people don't take research. They don't research. They just go off of social media and say, that's the one. Or the women that come to me and say, well, I went to a bodybuilding show and I saw a girl do it.
But see,
So
but
I'm
that's
going to do a
exactly what
show.
I'm talking about. There's equal accountability because a coach can't force you to do anything.
Hmm.
They can't
True.
force you. It's not just the coaches and trainers or the ones who are making supplies. It's the ones who are just doing, like you said, Christina, who are doing whatever it takes because they don't want to put in the time. When you do this the right way, when you are training hard in the gym and you are building, when the muscle is built, not bought,
Hmm.
it's sustainable.
Hmm.
That's why you see a lot of us pros, bodybuilders, and everything. People always want to assume, oh, you must be. No, I'm not. No, I'm not on any kind of protocol right now. I trained hard in the gym. This muscle is here to stay. But we've all seen that person that when they're off season, they look completely different. It's just like, whoa, you
And that's
where your
true, right?
shoulders?
The way that your body changes between seasons, I think between the focus seasons will tell you a lot about the foundation that you've built, right? And the foundation
That
you've laid, right? So
precisely.
when you have a
Yeah.
competitor that, you know, you're in season, you're looking crazy, you're looking ripped, you're looking peeled, you're looking hard, and then
You looking you
now
looking
off
master.
season is here and you look like a completely different person. You've put on 30, 40 pounds. You're, you know, your face is all blown out of proportion. You're, you know, you're looking soft, you're looking, you know, dimply. Like that can tell you what kind of sustainable, if there's real sustainable muscle under there or if that's all enhancement. And I'm going to say this just to sort of round out the part about coaching and protocols
Hmm.
and guidance. I think that this is a really good place to just let everybody out there know who might be watching that yeah, there's some responsibility on the coach's end, but there's most responsibility on you as a competitor, as an athlete, as somebody who's serious about getting into this industry. That it is your responsibility to do your research. It's your responsibility to educate
Yeah,
yourself about diet, about what it's going to require, you know, hours of training, what kind of cardio is best for you, what kind of body type you have. Do your research first so that you're not this person that has this, you know, blind pulled over your face or over your eyes when you get to a coach and they can just, you know, pull a fast one on you or tell you, oh, this is the plan for you. And any veteran eyes would be able to look at that plan and say, oh, that's a cookie cutter plan. That's they just give you what they give
right.
everybody else. Make sure you're doing your research and ask the questions. I when I first started with working with my coach Trey Hodge, big shout out to Trey. I started working out with Trey. Started working with Trey in 2019, and the reason that I chose Trey is because of the roster of clients he had. He was an under the radar kind of coach. He, you
Yeah.
know, he had a handful of clients that were very successful. All of his clients were successful. Had gone to the Olympia, men and women, but he was a very hands-on kind of coach. He was very direct, very you know individualized, and I wanted that kind of coach. I didn't want all these big name coaches that had, you know, 50, 70, 100 clients, because how can you really focus on that client and give that client what they need? I really don't think that it's possible
Especially at this level.
at this
And
level.
that's what I tell people.
But I'm
At
going to
this
tell
level.
you, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm going to tell you when I started working with Trey, when he decided that he was going to take me on, because I emailed him, I reached out to him, basically begged him to like, listen, I've seen the people that you've worked with. I have never had a real coach in my life. Like I've never had a serious prep coach, and I was 5 years in the game as a pro at that point. I had been off the circuit for
Hmm.
5 years. Came back in 2019, and I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this right. And when he said that he would take me on, he sent me the nutrition plan. He sent me the supplementation. He sent me the protocol. And I called him as soon as I looked at that protocol. I called him up. I didn't even email. I called him. I was like, I don't know what half of this stuff is. I don't know what half of this stuff is. I don't know what half of this stuff do. But I wasn't afraid of asking those questions. And he was open and receptive to answering those questions and discussing
Yeah.
it and really talking it through. So if you find yourself in the mix with a coach that can't answer your questions, that finds it disrespectful for you to question what they're, you know, writing out for you or planning for you. If you find yourself in the mix with a coach that doesn't get back to you, and not necessarily right away, but doesn't get back to you in a, you know, an acceptable amount of time, those are key red flags. Those are key, you know, key indicators that that might not be the
Precisely.
person. But it's up to you as a competitor to be able to, you know, really start to what's the word? Get your compass in order so that you know you're going in the right, you know, you're going in the right direction.
Yeah, because this is what you
It
said.
don't take It don't take a whole bunch of days to build a
Mhm.
plan. It don't take a whole bunch of days to respond. We live in a world today where our cell phones are in our hands all the time. So you mean to tell me that you can't respond back in a good manner and then in a manner that makes sense and you really take your time with me? Those are red flags. They really are. And I think a lot of women don't know what to look for when they are going into a coach's realm of, okay, well, how do I pick a coach at this point? Which one is a really good coach? You know, what is their response time like? I can, from an athlete standpoint, say sometimes we may get in our own head and we tend to be like, okay, why I ain't heard back? But then after a while, once you grow into the sport, you know, you realize like, all right, I sent this on a Monday. Here we go on a Friday. Come
Oh
on, like
no.
it's just common respect,
Yeah.
especially if you don't pay money. You don't spend your money.
Yeah.
And I tell a lot of girls too, when they do get the coach that they like, lock in. You don't need the advice from nobody else.
Mhm.
This is who you done paid to do a job and a service. If they ain't doing it, let it go and go lock in with somebody else. But if you done paid this person, lock in.
Yeah. I think we need to continue to have these kind of
So,
conversations and to like, I mean, I think we're covering a lot in this, but um I think that it's important that people know there's so much to talk to. So much to talk about, so much to get into. And we do have a lot of
Okay.
experience, with different, with a lot
yeah.
of these different challenges and a lot of these different facets of the game. But what I would like for us to get into, I think what you were saying, Mayla, really hit the nail on the head. And I think that we're giving people a lot of good information about coaching and sort of, asking questions and things like that. I would love to get into some of our personal experiences, and I won't hold you guys too much longer, but I do want to ask some really specific questions because I think that'll give everybody an opportunity to kind of get to know us a little bit better, even outside of women's bodybuilding and outside of the stage. Because, like you said, social media is one thing, but our lives and who we are as people are totally different things. And there are two worlds that we kind of marry together. But if you guys are anything like me or have family that's anything like my family, they tell me all the time, as a competitor, y'all need to have a little village or a little complex y'all go to stay when y'all are like 6 weeks out from a show because y'all are real. We turn into totally different people. My mom has said that to me many times. Y'all need to just have, I'm surprised they don't have just like a little village or a little like, dorm where y'all could just go and have your food cooked and has the cardio in the gym there so y'all don't have to deal with life. Cause think about how many times we've been 6 weeks, 8 weeks out from a show. And like you said, the blinders come on and, work, like you get into work and out of work. You don't, I can't remember all those other little intricate details of my life outside of the prep, right? The prep encompasses so much of our life. It consumes so much of our lives and of our minds that the lives that we're living, our family, you're not going out to family get-togethers, family cookouts, or if you are, you're bringing your own little food, and your mind is stuck on your prep, your schedule, your training schedule. How many weeks you are out from the show, doing your posing routine. So I would love for us to get a little bit into how you manage your real life, like your regular everyday life, and your competitive life, like your life as a bodybuilder, and how you marry those two together, and also how you separate them. Mayla, why don't we start with Christina, and then we'll let Mayla round us out.
Last year was definitely one of the most difficult years in bodybuilding for me, not from everything else going on, but a schedule standpoint, because I was a full time student. I did work full time for the government,
Yeah, girl, you
and
had
I
a lot of
was
plates
trying
open
to
to you. I remember
compete,
seeing
you
some of
know.
your posts and some of when we were talking on the phone. You were doing a lot, girls.
Yes. That, on top of that, finding out my mom had breast cancer and losing my dad.
It's a lot.
So all those things happened in 1 year. Um, but in order for me to be able to maintain that type of schedule, I had to be strategic every Sunday, starting with prepping my food, to get my calendar book out, writing down everything that needed to be due in my assignment world, everything I had to do for work, and everything that I needed to get done with prepping for my show from posing. I had to add that in there. And a lot of people don't know I live in Georgia.
Yep.
Monique Jones live in South Carolina. So I was going every weekend
Oh,
from
you were
Georgia to
working with
South Carolina
her
leading up
one
to
on
the
one, like
show.
in person.
I
Oh,
was
Oh.
101 because I needed that physical touch to
mhm.
move my hand a certain way to make sure I was posing properly. I couldn't do the online stuff. I tried. I tried. That was the first go to, and it just didn't work for me. Now I probably could because I've got
Hmm.
my placing together with that after her moving me. But the first initial, I had to go in person. So being strategic with how you plan helps you be prepared to perform at that top level. If you don't have a plan, if you ain't strategic with it, I'm telling you now, it ain't gonna work. Anxiety and feelings of being overwhelmed are going to sink in. You have to lock in with self and
Hmm.
say, this
I
the
know that's
plan.
right.
That is true. I'm like, for me, I'm just like, it's always been that way. I even though like I'm alone, so I'm single.
Single, ready to
And
mingle.
I
Hey,
well, I'm just single.
you gotta excuse me, y'all.
Wait,
Listen, I
Wait,
keep
here,
my
here.
roster, and so don't listen to
No,
me.
no, no.
Don't listen to
That's
me.
what I'm saying.
Don't
I'm single because the amount of stuff that I had to do to, deal with life and everything, there was no time. It was like, that mingle time got diminished more and
That's
more the
right.
closer I got to the show. So that's what it. But it's just like Christina said. It's about planning. It's in this sport. It's true. If you fail to plan, then you need to plan to fail.
Mhm.
And for me, everything everything was on my phone calendar. Every little component. And for me, I'm a type A person with OCD, so I am very good at compartmentalizing everything.
Mhm.
So my life is like a mansion. And so when it's time for work, I go through that door. Leave that door when work is over, shut that door, go to the next thing. So I had a part-time job. In 2019, I left corporate America.
Mhm.
Left corporate America. I left my job and everything. I used to run a division.
Mhm.
And what I learned is that the amount of stress, like Christina said, working a full-time job, I had posing clients. I had one or two prep clients, and I was I was at this pro level, pro Olympia level, and everything. When I was trying to, that's what people didn't understand why I would get to the end of the year and things kind of fell apart. At the end of the year, it's fiscal time. I'm managing my budget. I'm trying to balance the budget and get it approved while I'm trying to get on the Olympia stage. And
Right.
so I took a leap of faith, left all that in 2019, pandemic hit, but that's okay. But the reality is that even now, I'm just like, you know, I started going to fitness more full time to obviously pay the bills because women in this sport, especially women bodybuilders, we don't have that kind of support, sponsors, just the community in general that supports you and everything. So for me, it was working a part-time job. It was dealing with my fitness clients, my posing clients. Um, Everything had to be planned. Everything had to be on the calendar.
Mhm.
What time I would cook stuff. And it's one of those things that you have to sacrifice, that you start getting up earlier and earlier
Mhm.
because you learn getting up earlier or late or staying up later. Now I'm a person that was a nighttime person. So initially when I started, I used to go late. But when it came to me prepping people and posing all that stuff like this, I figured out, I was like, you know what? Just get up earlier.
Mhm.
Instead of staying up late, get up earlier, change your body cycle and everything. And I would get up early. I would take care of my work, my part-time work stuff. Then I would take care of my clients. Then I would go ahead and I would start the process of prepping the food, practicing my posing, doing all that stuff, and everything was sprinkled in. But that's what it is. The closer you get to the show, the more you have to focus in on what you need to do. You hit that 12-week, a switch clicks.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, well, this needs to be sacrificed and this needs to be sacrificed. 8 weeks, another gear. You shift
Another
into another
gear.
gear,
Another gear.
another gear. 4 weeks, straight tunnel vision. Forget about the blinders and everything. You on the track all by yourself, okay? It's not you being self-absorbed. It's not you being selfish. It's the nature of the beast.
You keep it realer than that, Mayla. How is it when you're in a relationship and you're getting ready and your date want to take you on a date? They want to take you out for drinks. They want to take you to go do. You know what I'm saying, babe? Let's go hit the strip.
Girl.
Let's go do our thing. Unfortunately, you got
Oh,
time. You got these things. You know that made dating difficult for me. I ain't gonna lie. It made it difficult as
dating,
hell because a guy wanted to take me out and show me the what I deserve, and they really can't because I
I'll
got to
never
stay
keep
in
it.
this little bubble. So here they are.
Dating somebody when you 25 weeks out, and then that person trying to treat you not. Oh, you need a break. You need a break. No, no. But look, I appreciate it, but you know what? If you really want to show me a good time, how about you prep my food so I can take a nap?
That's right.
Because you trying to
Why
take
don't
me
you
on
go? Why
down
don't
to
you
the
go feed me
ride,
Yep.
my chicken and my broccoli? Go, go.
right? You trying to take me to my favorite restaurant? Finally go to my favorite restaurant where you order. No, let me have a grilled chicken, please. Okay, it's just like. Can you not cook it on the grill where you cook? I need you to scrape that, no butter, no, all of a sudden, well, why don't you just splurge? Because I can't splurge.
Mm.
I can't splurge because
Girl,
I'm
I
four
had a
weeks
whole
out.
breakup over
Yep.
that. I had a whole breakup over that.
Everybody has
Homeboy wanted
had a
to
breakup over that.
cook me a good home cooked meal, right? I come over, the meal is cooked. He has some smothered pork chops, some butter, potatoes, some gravy fried, some
Wait,
crazy stuff, some cornbread, biscuits. I'm like, I am 6 weeks out from a show. What am I going to do with that? What am I going to do with that? Like,
and I think that's part of the breakup, though. That's
it is
because
part of
they
the
don't get
breakup.
it.
They don't get it. They don't get it, and they don't get how you can be so steadfast in your decision and there's no wiggle room. Like, this is
No,
not about you. This is about me achieving this goal and me saying no to this meal. What you could have done if you was really, really doing it for me is ask me what's on your meal plan this week, right?
right. My frustration is that I've explained this to you time and time again. I shouldn't have to explain to you that I can't eat that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand. I'm just trying to do something nice for you. No, you're trying to do something so that you can get praise for. Because if you're really trying to do
There you
something
go.
nice for
Yeah.
me,
There you go.
you would have done what I needed in this moment in time. And so and that's what I tell people. I'm just like trying to date somebody in this sport
Mhm.
who doesn't understand the journey. And just real talk, Sheena, you know for a fact that I've had just situations where people assumed that
Uh-huh.
they could get it.
Uh-huh.
And then when they came into the bubble, they was like, oh my God, it's just like, I'm gonna need you to get out the bubble.
It's a
I'm gonna
different
need you to get out
mindset.
the bubble.
It's a
As a matter
different
of fact, get
mindset.
out the bubble, get out the country. I
That's
need you to just leave all the way because I can't keep doing this. The problem is that you didn't respect the fact that there's a process and it's a journey, and this has nothing to do with you. Doesn't mean I'm not into you. Doesn't mean that I don't like you. It means that this matters to me.
mhm.
You know, but it isn't like trying to date.
That's right. I'm lucky
That's why
that my
most of us
previous
are single.
relationship, my previous relationship, they were really understanding and really supportive and, was at every show, whatever show she could be at. Obviously, she was at the show.
Mhm.
And then, even with like when it came to food. Now that was the one thing she didn't sway on. So like I'd be in prep mode. I mean my chicken and broccoli, and here she go with some, fully loaded nacho, cheese fries with, her milkshake on the side. So the good thing is that she never forced me to eat or want to go out and eat different things that I couldn't or that wasn't on my plan. But she was also very supportive and understanding of my training schedule, of what was required when it came to the traveling, what was required of when it came to being an ambassador. And I think those are all things that you have to consider if you are an up and coming competitor or somebody who's in the mix now and maybe you're looking to get a little bit more social or you're looking into dating. Is like, make sure that person has an inside view as to what you're really like, because like you said, Mayla, 25 weeks out is a lot different than 8 weeks out, 6 weeks out, 2 weeks out. And they have to understand that that's a part of who you are that's going to change very abruptly, and how you can participate in that relationship. You know what I'm saying? So I think that
Well,
as a competitor, when you're dating, you sort of have to, have that disclaimer written up and make sure that they are well aware of how things are going to change and evolve in that relationship if you're getting ready for
but it isn't like
I'll say, you sure that's what you want? You sure this what you want?
is you show is
You
you
sure this
show
what you want?
show.
Now I'm gonna give you what you
but
want.
that's what it is.
Be
It's like
ready.
I said, it's one thing to see somebody who's determined and who's in their prep. You see them beasting out in the gym and everything, and you admire their dedication and everything. You admire the fact that they're disciplined and everything. I was like, but it's different from you watching that, and it's different from you standing next to that person
That's right.
and supporting them through that. And that's what's so hard, that it becomes to the point, and I think all of us has been to that place, that it becomes easier just to say, I prefer to be alone right now.
Mm.
Hey, I would love to spend time with you. Great. Not right now. Well,
That's right.
you kind of ghosted me.
I literally just opened dating again for myself. I literally just the guy that I date now literally just opened the opportunity to allow that type of love to be given to me. Period. I didn't know how to do that when competing. I didn't. I felt like more of my masculine quality came out when I was competing. I get that, a man should want to accept you at every level and every avenue of
I have to
competing
stop
or
you
not
right there real
competing.
quick.
But
It's not a
unfortunately,
masculine quality. And we need to stop
Well,
equating
that's
things
what I was
like
going to
that.
ask her.
It's
What do you mean? And I think this is good that we peel back that layer. When you say more of your masculine quality or qualities, what do you mean by your masculine
what
qualities?
stronger qualities are you talking about
Yeah, what
that people
masculine
always want to
qualities?
equate to masculinity?
Because
Because it's
we
not
said
true.
we mask a lot of things that can be very feminine. We mask a lot of things that could just be human. as masculine. So what do you feel
Mm,
like, when you say your masculine quality came out, what do you identify that
yes.
with?
So when I say that, I mean as far as attitude or the way that I
Mhm.
come off can be a little hard. I didn't know how to soften that up as a woman. I felt like I had to be that hard. So I felt like I had to be that hard. So the comments and the things that people would
So
say
when you say
would
hard,
go
are you
bounce
actually
off.
talking about protecting yourself, like protecting your feelings and your emotions from, being beaten down and berated? When you say hard, do you mean not showing emotion? When you say hard, do you mean not showing that you're bothered?
That part, I will say that. But it can't come off to a man as you being having a masculine tendency, especially black men. I'm gonna just keep it
No,
honest with
that's
this
true.
when I say this. It was definitely difficult for me to date a black man versus it was other men of other cultures
Mhm.
embracing me and seeing me as art. A lot of black men are intimidated by us.
Hmm.
I'm keeping it so honest. I get more love from other cultures than I do from my own culture when it comes to this. Some black men see it as no, that ain't normal. But damn, she pretty. Like she her biceps bigger than mine and she fine. Like
Hmm.
I don't get that. So it definitely was hard. I no longer operated in that space with a man. You finna get these forearms, you finna get these glutes, and that's what it is. And if I couldn't have that camaraderie with a person, then I just wouldn't date. Now that I'm no longer as hard as I was and I've softened up and I'm in a how Mayla
Mhm.
said, I'm just taking a break.
There you go.
That's what she say. I'm gonna let her have it. Um, I I kid you not, and my therapist and I talk about it all the time. There's an operation of self love that I operate out of that is a pheromone that comes out of me where men are like,
Mm.
damn, who this? And I like that space. I like that space that I'm in. I didn't have that space when I was in bodybuilding, but I
And
do
that's
Do you
have that
think that
heartbreaking.
space
that
That
now.
is
that
so
that's there's a
heartbreaking.
correlation between self-love and then being accepted and embraced by other people? Because I'm sure it doesn't come off just to the men. I'm sure that pheromone, believe it or not, is very perceivable by people in general, right? And I
Hmm.
think at the ground, at the foundation level for all of us, nobody really is able to love you truly and genuinely until you had that self-love for yourself, until you practice out of self-love, after you soften for yourself, not soften for attention or soften for acceptance or soften for somebody else to understand you, but like, really allow yourself to have that self-love, that self-acceptance, to embrace yourself as who you are because of what you love about yourself, right? People can now come into your space because you're operating out of that self-love and that self-acceptance, and you're not at this, at this like what I like to call it, the what's that movie, the 300, what were they, the gladiators or the Spartans, you know what I mean? You don't
Yeah,
have that like Spartan armor on,
Right.
subconsciously, and now
I
exactly.
operated in that for 7 years. For 7 years, that's where I was. So to be now where I
Yeah.
am,
And
I
it may just
like
be a
that.
matter of time, to be honest, Chrissy. And
I like that about
I respect the fact that you've made this decision, and believe me when it comes from a place of love, when I say, I know that you can only trust somebody to make the best decision for themselves. Nobody can
Right.
ever know what's best for you, right? So for right now, you know that this next step that you're taking to retire from bodybuilding is the right step. But I'm going to say, and I'm just going to put it out there, that there's a point in time that may come for you after you've developed over these next year, months, couple years, whatever the case may be, in this space of self-love and in this space of self-acceptance, that you say, you know what, maybe I am ready to go into that or to venture back to that stage, because you can operate from a different place. There's so many opportunities. It doesn't have to be
place.
today or
Yeah.
tomorrow or next year or next decade. Who knows? You might come to a place where you say, my heart is ready for it now. My mind is ready for it now. You went through a very big transformation, going from being overweight, going from a divorce, going through a lot of emotional trauma, the loss of your father during this time and space, that there was a lot that was going on inside of you, and maybe it just wasn't necessarily the perfect time. And now you're going to do a lot of healing. And then maybe over the next couple of months or next couple of years, something may change. Maybe it'll stay the same. You know what I mean? But I think that that's going to be a beautiful experience to have, and a beautiful journey to take part in, to see how you feel, as this time continues to go on and as you operate in this space greater and greater and become more aware of yourself and have that self-awareness and grow in that space.
And you know what? I'm like Christina. I'm like I totally support and I'm behind you 100% about you deciding to step away from the stage for you to get to that place that you can love yourself, that you can be comfortable in your skin. But it breaks my heart that you had to step away from the stage to get to that place. But it's just like what Sheena said, you came you came from such a valley moment coming into this sport. I'm like, that even though it's amazing how much you shine with all of that darkness that you carried with you trying to climbing out of that darkness. It boggles the mind just how much more you're going to shine now that you are finally peeling away all of that darkness, all that pain, and becoming comfortable in your own skin. Like I said, it's not retiring.
Thank
You always gonna be a woman of steel. It's all on you.
That's it.
Bodybuilding,
And that's
you
that,
know, for
right?
life.
So on that note, actually, before I let you guys go, there is a little bit of bodybuilding news that I would like for us to touch on because we do have our own very unique perspective as women bodybuilders in
Mhm.
a division that for the most part dwindled for a very long time when we were dropped from the Arnold, when we were dropped from the Olympia. So um, just this last year, 2022, the Olympia was brought back to Vegas, and shortly after the Olympia wrapped, we got updated news on the Olympia qualification series, and some of the rules and regulations. And the most pertinent rule change was that they were eliminating the point system. Now, I have my
Yes.
own very unique take on that because in 2022, I was actually in the runnings for a tentative qualification based on points, right? So I'm like in that mix, partially, qualified or tentatively qualified for the Olympia based on points. And I picked certain shows based on the fact that it could give me a certain amount of points. I had a higher likelihood or probability to attain a certain amount of points based on how I placed in order to get to in order to get to the Olympia. Now, for women's bodybuilding, for those people who may be watching that don't know, our division probably for sure has the most limited schedule of any of the other divisions right now. When you
Mm.
look at the schedule, and I'm not sure if you guys have looked at the current schedule, so I want to get your take
Mm.
on this. Women's bodybuilding has, I want to say, 10 shows before the qualification series ends, right? And the qualification series ends about a month before the Olympia. So in order to qualify for the Olympia, you have to get that qualification before that cutoff time, and then any show after that cutoff goes towards the qualification for the next year. Are you guys aware of this new rule change where they're taking out the point system?
Actually, I just became aware of it literally 2 days ago.
Okay.
2 days ago, I became aware of it.
So I'm not
So
sure if you've had enough time to mull over it to have an opinion on it, but I know Chrissy had made mention of it. So I want to get your take on it, Chrissy, if you have a take on it, with how you feel about that and what you think that means for women's bodybuilding, versus some of the other divisions, or even just for the divisions in general. Period.
mhm.
So my opinion is this: when you look at it from the standpoint that all three of us look at it as, it's a competition, meaning that you need to bring your best at all times. You don't need to depend on the point system. Now, was the point system cool? Yeah, they gave everybody an inclusive opportunity to be able to work to get to there. But I will say that the quality and the caliber of athlete this previous Olympia, with so many people on stage, of seeing it live and in color, I feel like it took away from the show. I feel like the people that were supposed to shine didn't get enough shine because here we go going through all these
Right.
people.
That was the
Like 60
The Olympia was
men
never meant
physique,
to be
classic
all
physique
inclusive.
competitors.
the men. The
No,
Olympia
That
supposed
that's
to
not
be the best
necessary.
of the best in the world.
that's right.
Help me
It's
understand why
not
there's
meant to
40
be
people
inclusive.
about to come across. I was just like, how the 40 of you? How, at what point?
Yeah.
I'm just like this. So no, I'm just like, but go ahead, continue, Christy. Because I think it's fine.
I,
I don't have a
I,
problem with it.
I, agree. There's nothing wrong with that. I totally think that it needs to go back to that. It gets the delusional thoughts out of some of these people's heads that they don't work this hard, and here I am, 16th in the
Mhm.
world. Like, come on. Let's face it, you want to be in that
That's
top
right.
five. Hell, you really want to be number one. So let's be real. Why would you settle for just saying I'm gonna be 16th in the world? You know? Also, with the point system, I think it doesn't give people that thought of, okay, maybe my body need a break. Maybe I do need to sit down somewhere. Maybe I need to sit down and respect what my body is telling me. So I think I agree totally with it. Um, I think that it will change the way that people qualify for shows. I also think that, and I'm keeping it so real with you, a lot of these women come from overseas and they beat us big time, big time. And they deserve to be on the stage because look how they look.
Mm.
So that opportunity for them to win is there, and they got some real competition to stand up next to.
Maybe I might push
Straight
back
up.
on that though, because what girl from overseas has come over and beat one of us? Has beat an American?
Well, here, okay, I'm gonna say this, and I'm not gonna say.
I'm not going to say it's
I
not
don't think it's
possible
that.
because they have a different look, right? But if
Well,
you
here's
look
my
at
whole
all of
thing.
the
Is just like
shows,
I don't think it has anything to do with them coming over here beating us big time. And
no.
so I understand where you're going to, but let's be honest, because there are some women who are losing opportunities because more shows are here in the States than they are overseas. And
Yeah.
that's what I feel Christina is trying to express.
Okay.
More shows are over here than overseas. And what's happening is that you have more people that are here with who are getting to the Olympia stage because they're jumping to the shows early, coming in with less caliber, going into smaller shows, jumping into shows early because the elite have just finished their season and they're trying to recover.
Hmm.
So you have those individuals coming in with less
Yeah.
caliber, with lower quality,
Hmm.
but they're jumping into show to show
Yeah.
to show to show to show, and they're pushing through the point system.
Hmm.
That you have some people who may not have won a show
That's right.
overseas, but they had a better quality body because they got second place, but they didn't have another opportunity to try to gain point systems. But you have somebody who maybe got fifth place and third place and a fourth place and maybe a second place because only four people showed up.
Hmm.
And the three that they beat,
Hmm.
just got their pro card and came with it, like Christina said. But that's what I think. I feel that's what you're trying to express with
Hmm.
that. So even though I just found out about this
It's
2 days ago, I was fascinated enough that I did take a moment, look at the calendar, look at the schedule, read about the information. And to me, I think it's a good idea because I also feel, just like Christina said, is that it's going to help us eliminate those individuals who are killing themselves,
Hmm.
taking more pads, using too many diuretics,
Hmm.
trying to get into that next show. If I can just jump into the next show next week
Hmm.
and get, if I can get at least fifth place, that's an extra point.
Hmm.
Instead of saying, you know what, I didn't win. I didn't bring my best package at this show. I'm gonna take about 6 weeks and see if I can get into another show. Don't get me wrong. I'm like, I want to go against competition. So I'm always hoping that
yeah.
every
That's how I
competition there's
feel.
going to be, because before the pandemic, let's be honest, well, we weren't doing women's bodybuilding back then, but before the pandemic, every show you went to, it was deep. The lineup was always deep. Of course, women's bodybuilding, so many people weren't doing that. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about shows in general. But after the pandemic, people weren't, it wasn't deep. And if it was deep with low quality
Hmm.
athletes. Don't get
So
me
on
wrong,
that point,
a
I
large
think.
portion of it.
Go ahead.
What?
Sorry. I think I'm probably finishing your thought, but I wanted to interject on that because my particular thought on the quality of the shows and the depth of the shows, it goes hand in hand with my thoughts on the point system. I'm actually in agreement that the point system has been eliminated because I do agree that you should go into the show with the mindset to win. You should go, not necessarily strategizing. All right, well, if I just get fifth place here and third place here and second place here, then I can rack up enough points. Like, it shouldn't be that. I think when you think about the exclusivity of the Olympia and what that should mean and the value of that show, what that should mean, the title should mean, it means the best of the best, right?
Right.
Personally, I think if you're going to get rid of the points system, I think some other standards should be put in place too. I think it should be a
Now, Bob
max
mentioned the
number
bump
of,
system.
say that again.
What what they started doing, I want to say the year that I came in, my first year going into nationals, which was 2013. They started a whole bump system, and that's what Bob was saying in some kind of huge back and forth when people were talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
Is that they should include the bumps because there was people like, oh, well, what if somebody who is the top five they decide to do a show? Because let's be honest, Natalia is notorious for doing shows, and I have mad respect for her for doing that. But people are saying if that person comes in and wins the show, then who what? There's nobody who's qualifying because she's already qualified. Mm-hmm. And so Bob made the well, why don't we include the bump system, which they do at nationals? Mm-hmm. So if somebody who's qualified at to do the Olympia decides to do another show, mm-hmm. then obviously if they win that show, then the qualification goes to the second place person. Mm-hmm. And see, that's something that would be to help
But
marry with the whole bump system.
So I
And it
like that
also
idea,
will help
right?
our division.
Sure.
Because like you said, we have a limited amount of shows. Um, and so it's going
yeah,
to take us time to build our division up. It's not like figuring everything. It takes time to build the level of muscle and muscle density and muscle maturity to compete well in this division. And with that means that it's going to take time for this division to really get a baseline of competitors. But what's going to help us is number one, we having this removing of the bump system, so we stop these people just showing up at these shows where we don't have a lot of people competing, getting points that technically, if they were as deep seated as the women's physique division, they wouldn't even been in that top five, and that's
So
just
that
real
was my
talk.
next point, right? For these
Right.
shows that are smaller, for these shows, like we had a couple of shows this year that only had one competitor in it, three competitors in it, four competitors in it. And I think that if we're really serious about wanting the quality of competitors to be top notch in A1, then we have to start thinking about some standards for even these regional shows. And I know that it might, get a little bit of pushback, but I think going hand in hand with eliminating the point system, perhaps incorporating the bump system where if somebody's already qualified for the Olympia, then the next seated person or the next person at that show goes. I think for these smaller shows, obviously we need them marketed a little bit better so that more competitors are willing to participate, right? But then also if you have a show and it's one bodybuilder in it, one female but one woman bodybuilder in it, one women's physique competitor in it, whatever, if there's not a minimum number of competitors, I don't think that person should, off of default, qualify for the Olympia. I think it
Oh
takes
no,
away.
so if we're trickling
Yeah.
down to a regional level before we even get to nations, and we're staying at the amateur level, I'm going to say this: there are a lot of pros that are willing to invest their money to make sure that women's bodybuilding sanctions are
Absolutely.
added to some of these regional shows. So there are women who can get the shine.
Yeah.
But I've gotten
I
pushback on
believe it.
that in my own state. Like I was ready to drop cash money. Let's go. What
Yeah.
show can we add this sanction to? Oh well, we done came out with this. So we got okay. So do y'all really accept us and want us here, or is Jake Wood the only one trying to carry the torch with keeping our sport alive?
Right.
He's one man.
No.
He can't do it by himself, and a lot of the promoters are scared. I get they're scared because there are some women in our sport who take it to the extreme, and then you have women like us who come out and we shine bright
Mm-hmm.
and we make
and we
it
need
glam. But I think that people are so scared to operate in that space that they'd rather not deal with it at all than to really sit down and take a look at it and how you can add value to it and roll it out slowly into shows. But we got to have people willing to spend the money and take the risk with the money in
but
order to
I'm
do
gonna
it. When it comes to a sanction, so each division has what they have to pay a fee in order to operate within the NPC and the IFBB. It costs money. So that sanction fee to be able to have that division at a show may be $4,000 or $5,000 to be able to bring that in the promotion be put out into the IFBB. You have to pay that to NPC IFBB. Now, it is costly for some competitors. They can't afford that.
Me for some
So my
promoters.
thought process is this: as pros
Okay.
to the promoters, right? So they only may be able to provide a figure sanction, the most popular categories. So they deem
Bikini.
wellness, bikini, men's physique. They may be able to only afford that much because it does cost a lot of money to put on a well
Round up, yes.
lit production, a really good production. But that's where I think us on the professional side have to look at ourselves and be like, what can we do as a sport to help bring more of this? How can we put our coin together? How can we put our knowledge together and meet with these people? Are they even willing to meet with us? Or do they want to keep it the way it is? But I am totally in agreement to sit down and say, Jake, how can we build this more than just you doing wings of strength? What can we
But see,
do?
from a
It's going to require all of us to come
I think
together.
a lot of women in women's physique too are delusional with the fact that they need to move from women's physique into women's bodybuilding so we can have more athletes, so we
I don't
can
think
have
they're
more competitive
delusional.
shows.
Let's be honest. Each of us who have crossed over, we had to level up to continue shining at the top level.
True.
And you have a lot of people, they go to shows and they're accustomed to being, they might not win, but they're in the top 10. But they know that they're not supposed to be there. They bring the conditioning, they bring the muscle, and depending on who shows up, they might place top 10, place top 5, but a lot of them, they're not willing to evolve. And they're going to have to evolve to get to the next level.
Do you want to keep getting fifth at a show? I remember doing Omaha Pro, stepping on stage at 151 pounds, shredded to the gills, next to these girls who are 125 pounds. I
So
look
wait,
like
so
Teddy
you're
Ruxpin
saying they're delusional
standing
thinking
next to
they
these
don't
girls.
have to jump up?
It's like I'm not too
So
big.
you're
I
thinking
fit
they're
in. How they
delusional
gonna
thinking
tell
that
me
they can stay in the women's physique category and keep.
and keep
That's
and
right.
keep
So
getting
you're
the
thinking that they
same?
need to be more
To a
accepting
certain
that they
extent,
can
Yes.
jump up to women's bodybuilding. They'll need to put in the work, but maybe their physiques are already sizing out of women's physique, and
they've already
maybe the
sized out.
necessary step is going to women's bodybuilding.
They've already sized out. What needs to start happening more and more is that those judges need to start penalizing people. And that's what I tell people. I'm like, the best thing that happened to me is that Gary penalized me because when I did my last women's physique show, I was the only Olympian there. I got 10th place. I got fourth call out. You know why? I was the biggest. I looked like an Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
I was too big for the division.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is,
Same thing.
but the thing is, that's what needs to start happening. I'm like, and I feel like they're on the verge of that because what they started doing. We were at Puerto Rico Pro,
We were at
and
Puerto
what they
Rico
started
Pro.
doing
Yep, I
is
got
that
the
they
exact
getting on
example I'm about
stage
to
because
give.
I'll never forget. See who I forgot her name. But I'm having a total brain shutdown right now. But I remember she came out on stage, and I was like, "Oh, she about to kill it." She came out by
TK, yeah,
herself,
yeah, yeah,
and
TK,
she
yeah.
looked phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And when they brought everybody out, I leaned up. I was like, I think they're gonna tell her she needs to grow over because
Mm-hmm.
she looked so Now the complete package wasn't massive, but 80% of her was straight bodybuilding.
I think that's a really good place, to have both of your perspectives there and sort of, feeding off of one another to, bring that back
Mhm.
to how we can make that the women's division, the women's bodybuilding division grow, how we feel about the point system at the Olympia, how it's going to impact our division. Because I think personally, for me, I think obviously with removing the point system, you're going to reduce the amount of reduce the amount of opportunities that some women's bodybuilders have to get on stage. But in the same breath, you're going to you're going to make it safer because you're not going to have so many people pushing for show after show after show just trying to gather enough points. So I think that that's important. And to Christina's point, the more women that we have crossing over from women's physique, knowing that they maybe really belong in in women's bodybuilding, maybe they just need that little, that little nudge. Maybe they need that, supportive talk from a female bodybuilder. Maybe that will help our division grow also because it's just about having the bodies and the people and good representation of the division. And I think there are lots of some figure girls that could jump over, some women's physique girls that could jump over that have the structure for it. And they'll just have to know that, there's a certain amount of time that they're gonna have to put into it. and there's a certain amount of dedication that they're gonna have to put into it. But this could be a division that really works for them and works for their body and works for their structure. And I know that we could go on for, probably hours and hours more, but
Mhm.
I know it's probably time for y'all to eat. I know it's time for me to eat. So we still on the grind. I didn't get into how you are, or how you're both rebounding, because even though Christina, you've made your decision for where you want to take your career right now. I know that it's still important that you rebound after a show. So I know that was, Savannah was your last show. Savannah was your last show. So you had to do a
Savannah
rebound,
was
and
my
then
last
Mayla,
show.
if you just want to tell us how you're rebounding and how you're feeling after the show, we'll wrap up with that. How are
Okay.
you rebounding,
Um,
Chrissy?
Oh, just fine. Like I said, I took a little bit of time off, literally purged my body of everything. I got with a Miss Lolita down in Miami. She's a perfect fit for me. Our conversation, our talks. She was definitely frustrated that I wanted to step away from the stage because she really wanted me to compete. But she also understood from a female perspective of, let's see what the body can do naturally. Let's just heal. If you decide to come back, I'll make sure that your protocol and your plan as far as your food and your workouts is concerned is consistent with someone who does desire to come back and go on
Amen,
stage.
sister. And your body
yeah.
feels refreshed and good and healthy right now?
I do 100%. I feel like my thought process is a lot better. Like I say, PEDs with my hormones. I do feel like PEDs definitely increase who you are, more of who you are. So me being able to dial back and not take nothing for the past 6 months, hopefully for a whole year or more, definitely has helped with some of my thinking and thought processes
Good.
Mhm.
about
That's good to
myself as a
hear.
whole.
What about you, Mayla? What do you say?
Um,
Reverse? Do you say reverse? I like to use reverse more so than rebounding. Actually, if I like
yes.
a reverse, like reversing out of that prep. Okay.
I reverse out. And that means I reverse out of everything.
Mhm.
You know, I ease back
Yeah.
out of any protocols that I am still taking because I phase out my protocols before I get to the stage.
Mhm.
So by the time I'm getting off the stage, there's not much I guess reversing out. And a lot of people, there are so many people that don't do that. They finish with a show and they stop everything.
Oh
And
God.
you have to phase yourself out of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, and if like Christina said some time ago, if you're really in the conditioning that you need to be in, you should be able to reverse out, phase out of any protocol that you're on, no matter how extreme or how minimal it is, reverse out before you even step on stage
Mhm.
because you've already achieved that condition
Yeah.
that you need to. And then it comes with everything else, the eating. Even though we can, our contest show day body has the capacity to recover quickly from a day of extreme because we all know that day of extreme as soon as you get off stage. But the reality is that you only got 3 or 4 days before your body starts to hang on to everything.
Mhm.
And so getting back on a meal
Yeah.
plan, a structured meal plan, and slowly bringing it back up to a level that is everyday life levels.
Mhm.
That you bring some of that, especially for women, you bring in some of that womanliness, because I don't like to say fat, some of that womanliness back so that you street fine and no longer compete fine. So you bring that back. That takes a couple of weeks. And so that's what I normally do. And
Yeah.
it is hard. I'm like, reverse dieting is the hardest, I think, that anybody has to endure. But it's something that it makes such a,
Your body is like a bottomless pit. Your stomach
it
feels
does.
like a bottomless pit. Like you could just eating and eating and eating, and you can't do that. I've said that to a lot of women. Mayla, I'm with you on that. A lot of women think, well, in order for me to grow, I got to pack on this amount of
Well, the
weight.
thing
No, you don't.
you should be able to still see that shape,
Mhm.
you know. And that's what I tell people. I said, if
Yeah.
you're at a place that you're bulking, which I hate that word, you reverse that and you're trying to put on a little shape, you're trying to recomp the body, reshape the body, or you're trying to put on mass.
Mhm.
If you still can't see the foundation of the shape, maybe you don't have definition, but you should still see the formation, the foundation of that muscle, then you're not doing a clean buck. You're putting on more fat. But that's what it is for me. I reverse diet out to a place where my body, I'm no longer um, in my contest prep meal plan, but I reverse out as in gaining, adding more food and lowering my cardio.
Good.
So both of them go hand in hand, and I take a little time off at the gym.
Good.
I take a couple of weeks because, beating the body down, especially for women's bodybuilding, beating the body down to put on that mass and then try to lean out and to lean out with the training and the cardio and the meals, not with just the supplements.
Hmm.
You know, you have to give that body a break. You have to give those tendons, those ligaments and everything a break, time to recover and everything. So it becomes more of passive activities like yoga and stuff like that and
Hmm.
reducing my cardio. So that's what I go through. I go through a phase of that until I feel like that I am back to um, everyday Mayla, so to
So,
speak.
are you
You know.
feeling more like everyday Mela now, sort of like
Well, the
that
thing
off
is that
season, that improvement season, Mela?
well, that's the whole thing is just like since I don't know if I'm going to compete, I'm like right now I'm still focusing on like I've reversed out. And so I'm at that place that I'm done with the reverse and everything and I'm back to one. That's what I always say. You know, you're reversing down to you're back to one and everything. But the whole thing of the improvement season, now I'm just at a point of just trying to figure out where I'm going with it. So before I did
Mm.
Toronto Pro and qualified for the Olympia last year. And then right 2 weeks before my birthday last year, I'm like, I lost my sister and then I lost my dad, you know? I'm like, at the beginning of the year, you know, I got off stage at Toronto, and in January, I had my foot surgery. So I spent the beginning of the season rehabbing. Then I went into development phase. Then, you know, I went into my improvement phase and everything, you know, and I didn't really have that time I didn't take the time because I didn't realize because I'm so accustomed to enduring. I'm so accustomed to compartmentalizing, putting things in a room and dealing with it, you know, in my own time, phasing into it.
Have you decided what space will feel good for you to make that decision as to whether or not you want to move forward with competing or, take a break?
I need to allow myself I need to refill. I need to refuel. I'm like, I've poured out into so many people, and I don't get me wrong. I'm thankful that I'm able to be a voice, that I'm able to inspire and motivate. But when you are leaking because you're grieving, what I found out when finally got off the stage and I took a moment to sit down, and I think all of us have been through that. You stop moving, and then you finally realize just how tired, just how drained
I
you
know
are.
that's right.
And that's what
Mm.
happened to me. Once I stopped everything and I took that moment, I took that pause, just how drained and just how depleted I was. And not just from competing, just my emotional sense, just my foundation. Because nothing was pouring back into me.
Normalize that. Can we normalize that? So when I say that is, for instance, when I made my announcement on female bodybuilding and me backing away, female bodybuilding channel did not contact me whatsoever. They
Mm.
just
Yeah.
put this story up and asked me why. A lot of people thought, "Oh, is her
Right.
health okay? Is this?" Yes, my health is fine because I made choices that
Hmm.
allowed my health to be. But at the same time, it should be normal for us to be able to say, I'm gonna step away and take a break, or I'm gonna retire and try to figure some things out, and then not be this big uproar. People need time to take care of self. We are not machines, but I also want people in the sport to understand that from higher levels,
Hmm.
we're gonna hit a wall. We're gonna hit a wall, and as women, our hormones function differently than a
It's true.
man's. So we need that time for self. And I do want that to be normalized and it not be an uproar if a woman want to step back and take care of herself. Oh, she a quitter. Oh, she not gonna do this. No, I'm not. It's called I'm worried about myself. And if you don't want me to have a nervous breakdown backstage after this
I
show,
know that's
you're gonna let
right.
me do what I need to do. And if I do choose to come back, I come back. If I don't choose to, then I'm not outcasted or treated differently because I'm no longer a part of. I'm gonna always be an
That's
IFBB
right.
professional pro. I earn that right, just like everybody else on this podcast right now. So I just don't want nobody looking at us no different because we choosing
Well, I
self
think
first.
on the note of that, I'm just like, what you're talking about is a little different than what I'm going through. But at the same time, I also feel that sometimes there's pushback because when you have somebody who is iconic, and Christina, whether or not you want to believe that you are iconic, you motivate a lot of people. There are a lot of people that they may not voice it, but you make an impact on their life. You make an impact on their life. And when that walks away, even if it's for their own good, it is a loss. No matter how long you step away from the stage, you're always, and that's why I don't
I don't
believe
care
in
if
the
it's 20
retired
years from now,
concept.
Christina. What she's saying is, it's 20
Well, see,
years from now, you still gonna be back on the stage.
because here's the whole thing is Christina, like she said, she's always going to be an IFBB
That's right.
pro
That's right.
woman's bodybuilder. So there's no retiring from you. You're always going
Can't
to
take
be
that away.
that. You've just taken time away from the stage. That's never going to change. That can't be taken away. So that's why I don't like the word retire. You retire from a job. I'm like, if you was a manager of this when you retire, you no longer one. You don't get to keep that title. You don't get to
I mean,
keep
that's
it.
facts. That's
This
facts.
this is true. You will always be this pro professional women's bodybuilder. You will always be one of the elite.
That's right.
That nobody can take it. The only thing that you're
Girls,
doing different is that you're
I'm
no
gonna cut
longer
y'all
stepping
off
on
because
that
we're gonna
stage.
sit here and we're gonna talk for 4 more hours.
I know. But
We ain't
anyway, so
gonna
that's
do
what
it.
it is. For me,
We ain't
I'm
gonna
like,
do
to
it.
wrap it up, that's what it is.
That's
I'm waiting for my vessel to be full again so I can be the Mayla that I always feel like I need to be when I come out into the competition
and we're here
world. So
for it. We're looking forward to seeing you whenever it is that you decide that, or whenever it is that you fill back up. And Christina, we're always going to be here for you. I'm looking forward to having you back on and having some more discussions because I
yeah,
think that we all have some, really good insight and experience, and we have our own perspective on things. All
that is
right.
awesome. That is awesome.
Great. So
Ladies,
I will
this
be
was
checking with you
awesome. I enjoyed
guys
you.
very soon. I appreciate and adore both of you. I can't wait to see what the future brings. So until next time, make sure you eat your food, make sure you get your reps in, make sure you get that cardio in, treat yourself good, have some good sex. I'm looking forward to you guys for women's bodybuilding. For real, we're out.